You know, just when I thought that TV shows and movies had the worst ability to paint the realities of firefighting and paramedicine, here comes the Wall Street Journal with their article, The 5 Things That Firefighters and Paramedics Aren't Gonna Tell You. This ought to be interesting.
Number 1, we may not know what's wrong with you. While paramedics in the U.S. also typically have doctors to consult with via radio, most jurisdictions discourage consultation.
First off, who did you have fact-checking this? Was it an intern that you forced to sit down and watch all 6 seasons of the show Emergency, where they were only allowed to give drugs via medical direction and only directly through the patient's heart? You see, we don't have to call the doctor anymore because they write things called protocols for us, and we go through a bunch of training leading up to getting hired at any EMS or fire agency, and then once we're hired on there, they test the crap out of us to make sure that we're not morons. Then they run us through something called preceptorship to make sure that we're really not morons, and then they send us off on that Band-Aid box to treat as many patients as possible.
The first objective of any EMT is simply to stabilize and transport the patient to a higher level of care.
Question, when you say simply stabilize them and transport them to a higher level of care, do you mean stop them from dying? Because if that's what you meant, you're correct. See, our job is to stop them from dying in the field so we can get them to a hospital and they can make sure that they live a nice, healthy life. And just in case you're wondering, here's a very small list of the things that we can simply stabilize them in. It's gonna be seizures, strokes, burns, heart attacks, drowning, cardiac arrest, tension pneumo, fractures, bleeding, penetrating injuries, diabetic emergencies, hyperkalemia, hypokalemia, hypertension, hypotension, childbirth, SVT, VTAC, asystole, and of course the occasional overdose. So, yeah, we can do a few things.
Too many of us are out of shape. The leading cause of line-of-duty fatalities is heart attacks, and estimates as many as 70% of firefighters are obese.
Oh my God, we're all gonna die because we're fat? I mean, it's not like they would throw in the other factors like the increased cortisol levels in the body because we're constantly stressed, which also increases the risk of heart attack or heart disease, or maybe even the interrupted sleep schedules, which also increase the inflammation in the body, leading to a greater risk of heart attack or heart disease, or maybe even the greatest one, the increased body temperature during structural firefighting operations, which also increase the clotting process in the body and our risk of having a heart attack. And the obesity scale is completely ridiculous. It factors 0 muscle into telling us that we're all fat. And let me tell you something, if you want to see a bunch of firefighters that you want to be looking up at when your house is on fire, walk into any truckie station. You're going to see a bunch of muscle-bound dudes deadlifting, back squatting, and slapping each other across the face. And when your house is on fire, those are the fat boys you want to see.
Number 3, we only work 8 days a month. A traditional firefighting shift is usually 24 hours on and 48, even 72 hours off. That usually works out to about 8 shifts a month.
It's actually 9 days a month for the average firefighter, but a couple things here. Number 1, 70% of all firefighters are volunteers, so they're doing it for free. I mean, I don't know why we don't make them work more. Number 2, the 24-48 work schedule is traditional because they put out a study showing that for every hour of sleep lost, it takes up to 4 days to make up for that loss of sleep. So after getting pounded 6 times after midnight and getting next to no sleep for that entire 24-hour period, they kind of want to make sure that we're rested enough to be able to not kill anyone the next time we're on shift.
We don't fight many fires anymore. Thanks to improvements in fire protection, firefighters actually have fewer fires to fight these days.
It's probably the one thing that you got even closely correct on this list, but yeah, just a couple facts I want you to remember. Even though we're fighting less fires, the fires are becoming harder to fight because of the materials that are inside burning. So they're burning hotter, faster, going through its growth and development stage much faster than previously. So we have to constantly be adapting, trying to get to fires faster, even though there's more population, there's more people blocking traffic, which makes it more difficult for us to get into it, extinguish it, get victims out, so on and so forth. We're not even gonna bring up the 48 current wildland fires that are burning close to 300,000 acres of land, because you know what? We're fighting less fire.